Director Gardiner exposed as a fraud as DHS block release of Harry's US visa files and warned that the battle never ends. The Department of Homeland Security has officially denied a think tank's request to release immigration documents for Prince Harry to find out whether he declared his drug use to officials before coming to live in the US. The US Department of Homeland Security notified the Heritage Project of its response Tuesday, citing privacy rules in rejecting the request in an emailed letter. To the extent records exist, this office doesn't find a public interest in disclosure sufficient to override the subject's privacy interests, DHS Senior Director Jimmy Wolfrey wrote in the letter obtained by the Post. The merits of releasing Harry's visa application were not discussed at last week's hearing in Washington, D.C. It means the Conservative think tank will now have used further legal means to force the DHS to release the files. Niall Gardiner, director of the Heritage Foundation's Margaret Thatcher Centre for Freedom, said the DHS response shows an appalling lack of transparency by the Biden administration and vowed the battle will continue in court. The Department of Homeland Security's efforts to stonewall the Heritage Foundation's Freedom of Information request are unacceptable and will be contesting their position, Gardiner said. We expected to have to fight every step of this case in federal court and will continue to press for transparency and accountability for the American people. Between 2003 and 2018, there were 45,000 people deported from America for illegal substance possession. What's the bet that a significant number of them were people of colour? Meanwhile, this privileged white prince can use hard drugs and magic mushrooms and be handed a visa without a problem. Sounds like the Heritage Foundation is going to give Harry a taste of his own medicine by contesting the DHS position. Not a good look for Harry. If he had nothing to hide, he'd have released the information. Now he's made to look as though he's hiding something, which for someone who's on a crusade against misinformation, undermines his cause. The Heritage Foundation will also keep pushing to get the information released, which will keep it in the news. The government has been able to approve visas for those that didn't meet the requirements with no checks. It absolutely is in the public interest for the American people to understand why people who don't meet the requirements for a visa are allowed to have one. In theory, someone makes a determination, so why is it so difficult to provide an explanation? Also, this is no longer private information in the case of Harry. He has very publicly admitted that he took and continues to take drugs. If he lied on his application, this should be addressed. If he didn't lie, what's the harm of publicly stating the exception that he met to enter? If US law prohibits drug users from entering the country, then that applies to everyone. He's got a title, that's it, big deal. This clown gets away with everything without consequences. This is either serious or it isn't. One person commented on Reddit, I do think there needs to be some public explanation on why Harry got a US visa and is having it renewed given his public drug admissions. He's admitted to continued illegal drug use. I wouldn't have these questions if Harry wasn't giving interviews about his drug use. At best, this ends with an internal audit that says yes, the procedure was followed and Harry didn't get special treatment, or no, Harry got special treatment and we'll review and update our processes.